I'm Riley Reese. This is the Sofia Unfiltered podcast, where we bring together thought leaders, wellness entrepreneurs, makers, and emerging health leaders. We're here to have raw, unfiltered conversations because sharing your stories has the power to change lives, help others heal, and transform the way we take care of ourselves. Here we go. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sofia Unfiltered. Today, we are talking to Dr. Michelle Kole, our newest co-host. Michelle is a clinical psychologist and somatic experiencing practitioner with over 20 years of experience. Dr. Kole's journey in the world of psychology has taken her on a holistic healing path where she's combined her experience and expertise as a certified yoga instructor and a meditation teacher with her psychology practice, really focusing on the connection between the mind and body, trauma, and resilience. And here's an exciting addition for our Sophia Prime community. Dr. Michelle Kole graciously extends her expertise beyond traditional therapy. She conducts meditation classes on Sophia Prime, offering our platform members an opportunity to explore mindfulness practices under her guidance. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Michelle to the show. Michelle, thank you so much for being here and being the new co-host with us. We're super excited.
Thank you. I am so excited for this season. We've got so many cool guests lined up.
It's a phenomenal lineup. And so thank you for your help with all of that. We just can't wait to kick off this, finish off the year strong.
Yeah, I love it.
So you're joining us. Obviously, I've known you for, quite some time now and have followed your work, and you've been in this mental health space for 20 years. But really what I'm interested in is what inspired you to become a psychologist?
Well, it was a twisty journey. I was not one of those people that always knew what they wanted to do. Although if you look back at my childhood, you kind of see little hints that I'm very well suited for this job. My mom used to find me sleeping on the floor next to my bed with all my stuffed animals tucked in. I was so worried about them and wanted to take care of them. A little early codependence showing up. But I was such a caregiver. I just wanted to take care of people. I just wanted to make sure people were comfortable. And I didn't know what I wanted to do growing up. I thought I might want to be a veterinarian, but I couldn't really fathom the thought of putting needles in animals. I love animals so much. And my mom died when I was 16. That was my first major trauma. And it really rocked my world. And I didn't have a whole lot of adult guidance after that. It was oh, you're independent. You seem fine. And so I was kind of left on my own to figure things out. And it was a really lonely, disorienting time. And I could have used a therapist at that time, but I didn't even really know that that existed until I went to college. And it was a class that I took. It was abnormal child and adolescent psychology. I got to give a shout out to Dr. Michael Palmer from ASU. He was amazing. And it captivated my attention. I got an A+ in that class. I don't think I even missed one point in that class. The way he talked about his patients just had me riveted. I didn't know that you could speak to a child with such respect. I felt like I was finally understood for the first time. I felt like I was attuned to, and that really just blew my mind. And I thought, I want to provide that for other people. I want to learn how to be lovely like this man. And so then I switched my major. I was a chem major. I switched it over to psychology and started taking all the psychology classes. And that just seemed to flow. I mean, it was what I was really interested in. And I went to grad school. And I don't know that I still was completely sold on being a psychologist. It was just following the next right step. Whatever was appearing, I'm okay, well, I'll go to grad school. But it wasn't until I started working with clients in my second year that I felt like the Grinch, when his heart expands, it was this little heart was burp, burp, burp. And I just felt my heart opening and growing where, after my mom died, I really decided to shut down. Let's just not love anybody. I got it myself, completely independent. And as I started making connections with the people I was working with, I just felt this love coming forward from my heart. And it really made the work a lot more enjoyable and interesting. And I was hooked on being a psychologist at that point. And so I went on to work with lots of different populations. I worked with kids and adults and domestic violence, veterans, all sorts of people. And each population has its own joy for me. It's a fun challenge getting to work with different populations. And, that was kind of my life, but still really not focusing on my own self care. So, just like that little girl who tucked in all of her animals, I really was focused on giving, giving, giving. And I done burned myself out that way. It was really anxious. I didn't know that it was anxiety at the time, but I just knew that if I didn't always have the TV on or music or out with friends, I didn't like the way I felt when I just sat there quietly. It was really uncomfortable.
And when did this happen on your journey? I mean, so at 18, you had this realization that you're going to go into, you love this one class when you're 18, and you're like, okay, let's follow this down. And you're intrigued. And then grad school, a few years later, you're in grad school and you find this love. And in your second year of patience and all of the work that you're doing. So when was it when you started realizing you're having all of this anxiety?
I was probably in my 30s at that point. And the fault that I had is that I was taking on everyone's energy and pain. So I'm an empath. I feel people's pain. I'm very sensitive, and I didn't have any way to protect my boundaries. I didn't actually know what a boundary was at that point. And so I would just overgive to the point where I had nothing left for myself. And I had some traumatic, I worked with people that were in really extreme situations, going through extreme things. And I felt all of that in my nervous system. And it wasn't until I was in my early 30s. I was also teaching people how to fly airplanes, which was like a nice left brain distraction from all of the right brain psychotherapy.
And so, for those of you who just heard her throw this in here, so everybody knows, so I'm a pilot and have been since I was a teenager, and so has Dr. Michelle Kole. So we have this aviation bug, and she is also a pilot as well.
Yeah, that's a total non sequitur. So I was teaching people how to fly airplanes. That's totally normal statement. And I had this student, and he was so chill. I think you know this, Riley. Like, there comes a point in flight training where you just get saturated and you're like, I can't do this. It's too, everybody kind of has an adult tantrum at some point, or at least my students did. And this dude was so chill. And he just, I'd say that was insufficient. Do it again, do it again, do it again. He just kept up with it. And I was amazed by that. I said, what is wrong with you? Why are you like this? Total healer. Why are you like this? And he said, well, I meditate. And I said, oh, yeah. Well, I can't meditate. I have way too many thoughts. That's good for all those other people, but yeah, there's no way. And he's like, yeah, I thought that too. There's a class starting. I recommend you take the class. It's a structured way. You'll learn how to meditate and, see what you think. And just as fate would have it, a lot of my life is like just as fate would have it, like this great step appears. The class was starting next week. It was a 6-week class on mindfulness meditation. And I went to the class and I started experiencing something I had never felt before in my life, which was this deep peace. And what started developing for me was I noticed there was like a space in between stimulus and response for me. That it wasn't like I was just automatically knee jerk reacting into things like typically. It was almost as if I had this buffet of choices laid out in front of me of like, well, you could do that, but you could also do this and you could also do this. It was almost like time kind of slowed down, like a little speed bump. And I could make different choices. And as I started doing that, I started craving more silence. And the silence actually became a friend to me and it became a comfort instead of being this scary thing that I looked forward to sitting with myself. And I started getting a lot of answers about what the next right steps were. Whereas I kind of felt lost in my career and what am I doing with myself? And, where am I going? And what is the purpose of all of this? I started getting some answers. And that was really cool. And again, during this time, like another beautiful thing happened just accidentally. I was at a neuroscience conference at UCLA. I can't remember who I wanted to go see speak, But I wandered into a talk that Peter Levine, the founder of Somatic Experiencing, was having just to kill some time. And I texted my friend and I said, I'm going to have to catch up with you later because I cannot leave this talk. And just like the way Dr. Palmer was talking, the way Peter Levine was talking about his patients and working with people, and he was showing some demos, I was captivated by that. There was something in my body that said, that is a green light. That is a yes. That is how I want to work. Still not really realizing that that would benefit me as well. But I just went into it full steam ahead and ended up learning SE, which completely transformed my nervous system.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, SE for everybody, she mentioned is somatic experiencing. But Michelle, can you take a minute and tell us what is somatic experiencing?
Yeah, somatic experiencing, it's kind of becoming a buzzword these days, but it's a body based type of therapy. So often when we're in psychotherapy, we're just like a floating head. Our thoughts are so valued, but our body has so much valuable information. And SE really invites in the totality of our experience. So we can use our body sensation. Oftentimes, our body is talking to us in ways that we just override. And I'm guilty of this too. It's like I used to have my workday back to back to back. So I had to pee, I was hungry, I had a headache, just override it. You're fine, you're fine, you're fine. And that probably set me up for some of that anxiety that I was experiencing or the insomnia. So SE really slows things down. Sometimes we say it's like watching paint dry because it is such a slow thing. And I really believe that as we slow down, we can have access to the answers because I don't have the answers for my client. They have the answers. I look at my job as helping them slow down so that they can listen to the wisdom of their body. And with SE, oftentimes, we can work with actual traumas that have happened, point atable things, a surgery or a car accident or, something that's a point atable event. But oftentimes it's relational trauma. It's the trauma that happens wounding from other people. And most of us do have that. It could be as simple as our parents not attuning to us or being bullied. Those things have dramatic effects on our nervous system. And oftentimes we need to go back and rework some of those things and heal in relation to other people. And I think that was a huge learning for me that I needed other people to heal. I was extremely independent, like, I got this. I don't need anyone. Nope, can't trust anyone. And that's a really lonely existence. And I think when I started SE, that was the first time I started letting other people care for me. I started letting other people see my vulnerability. And it didn't happen overnight. I mean, it's a 3-year program. So at first, people would come up to me in the trainings, how you doing? How was your travel? And I'm like, yeah, whatever. They're just being nice because they want me to do a session with them. Because in my template for relationships, they're transactional. If you're being nice to me, I got to figure out why you're being nice to me, what you want from me, and what I can get from you. It's not a fun way to live. It's not a fun way to assume people have it out for you or that they're always trying to manipulate you. When in fact, that's, typically not true. And if it is, so what? So what?
Do you think this just went back to when you think that just came about, from being young and having to take care of yourself for all of those years and be that person to figure things out at such a young age?
Yeah, absolutely. When I looked around for the adults in my life, there was no one there to provide any type of guidance or support. And it was just so painful to reach out and not have myself met that I just learned it's easier. Don't reach out. Just figure it out yourself. Just become an island and then nobody can hurt you and you'll just be safe on that island. But that's not how human nervous systems are designed.
Yeah, not at all. So somatic experiencing. So you met Peter Levine and and he's a psychologist and the trauma specialist, right? And so you're getting into somatic experiencing and you said it's a 3-year program so that you becoming a practitioner was a 3-year program. Is that right?
Yeah, Peter Levine's actually not a psychologist. He's got a PhD and it's something to do with, gosh, this is embarrassing. I don't know, but he studied animals. And that's how he came up with somatic experiencing by seeing how animals release trauma in the wild. And then he applied that to humans. Although, most people do think he's a psychologist because he's brilliant when working with with humans.
So he is basically coming up with the concept that trauma is stored in the body,
Mm-hmm.
like the physical manifestation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we have this mind body connection. Um, and then we have to heal the physical manifestations. Can you give us an example of how SE could work or it works?
Yeah, sure. So let's say you were in a car accident and it happened so fast that you didn't really know what happened, but your body had a couple of things that it didn't get to go through in the car accident. So, first, there's orienting to the danger. Typically, there's a look, I want to look and I don't want to look. So, we need to let the body kind of go back and see what impulses came up. The body will start to show us what was going on in that moment. There could be bracing, there could be arms come up to try to protect, there could be the neck that wants to look over. And we kind of slow things down frame by frame so the body can process what is going on. Also, bringing in the help that maybe didn't arrive. Maybe there wasn't anybody kind to come and check on you and say, "Are you okay? I'm calling an ambulance." So, bringing in a competent protector, bringing in somebody, a helper. And I know it's in memory, but all our memories are our thoughts. So, if we go back and kind of rework these memories, our body has a chance to process that. Oftentimes, there's an impulse that comes up, such as that protective impulse, and we let the body move through that. Or there might be some tremoring through the body, which is a release of stored tension. And, as we let that move through, what people tend to feel is more expansiveness, less tension in their body, just more of that life force energy that we have access to when we free that up.
So, what is the difference in, if you don't mind me asking, in somatic experiencing and like the NLP, right? The neuro linguistic programming, like when you're going back and you're trying to really go frame by frame through this unresolved trauma in your life. Is there a
Yeah,
difference?
well, I haven't studied NLP. That's like one of the things I haven't studied. So I can't speak to that. But what I understand from it, it's a lot with languaging. And so it's a lot with using your mind again. And so with SE, we're using the whole body. So sometimes we're working on the floor. Sometimes we're pushing hands against hands. Sometimes we're putting our hands on the client in different ways to support or to contain. So it's a lot more physical.
Okay. Very interesting. But a lot of these concepts of going, there's a mind body connection, and we have to go back and heal the trauma.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back, so you were doing this 3-year program
Yes.
to become an SE practitioner.
Yes.
And you were mentioning that you thought people were coming up and talking to you because very transactional
Yes.
to do a session with you.
In the trainings, everyone was so nice. I'm like, what are they? Are they on drugs? Like, what are they taking? Why are they so happy? Why are they so nice? I would sit there with my arms folded, against the wall. Like, there's a lot of dancing that happens to like help release some of the tension. It's like, all right, let's wiggle and shake it out because we're talking about intense things all day. And I would sit there with my arms folded, like, I paid a lot of money to be here. They can't make me dance. I'm not dancing. This is stupid. And then, fast forward a couple years, I'm an assistant for the trainings and I'm up there shaking my booty, like watching the people with their backs against the wall going, oh, I've been there. I know that. I know what it feels like to be there.
So you had your student who opened you up to meditation, and now not only you're into meditation, you're going back and now you believe in this mind body connection and this healing the trauma. Were you able to go back through it yourself and kind of rework some of that childhood potential trauma?
Yes, I have been able to. And I would say it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. I do a lot of trainings. I've done a lot of therapy, but it's like peeling an onion. You peel back a layer and then you're like, ooh, there's a lot more that we can work with here. So yes, I think probably the most healing thing has been to tell my story and to have it met with such compassion and understanding and reframe, and also to help slow it down. I didn't have tears for a long time after my mom died. I think of it like when we've got trauma or something painful, I see people, and myself included, like skipping rocks on the water. It's like, if I just go fast enough, I don't have to sink in and go deep and feel what's underneath this. And so there's a lot of quickness in the nervous system, which, was the same for me too. And really, what was helpful, and I've had some physical trauma too that I've reworked with SE, but it was so helpful, just that relational, that person that was there, that was attuned, that was accepting. There's something very healing about that.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, I mean, as a psychologist, it sounds like you've always had this nurturing, mentality. And then now you've actually, years and years later, you were actually able to go back and take care of yourself and heal. Do you think now your work with patients is even different?
It's so different. It's so different now. Yeah, I was trained psychodynamically, which is a very valuable education, but it really puts you as a blank screen, and you don't show a lot of yourself to the client. And, I was the doctor, they were the patient. Now I'm just Michelle. And I feel like my heart is probably my most important tool that I'm using in sessions. That I love my patients, I love my clients, and I think they can feel that. I hope they can feel that. If they can't, I love you guys listening. But really using myself in the therapy, I worked in a small town for a couple of years, and you would see your clients in the grocery store and working out next to them in the gym and the restaurants. And it really was an invitation for me to step into my authenticity, which is my greatest tool, because it's my compassion, it's my understanding. It's not staying in this professional role. In fact, it's breaking out of the professional role and letting them know I'm a real human being. I care about you. Let's get our heads together and figure out how to make this work for you, instead of doctor patient type of a relationship.
Yeah, so that brings me into some questions. People have these, thoughts as to what it's going to be like going and talking to a psychologist, right? So you go to the couch, you sit there, you talk, and you leave. But with your background, right? You're a psychologist, you're a somatic experiencing practitioner. You use a lot of different modalities in your work, right? You bring in breath work, meditation, all of these different practices. So what is a session like, and what do people need to come to a psychologist for?
I think people come to a psychologist because they're in pain. I think there's something that feels intolerable, that they feel that they can't manage anymore. Or maybe somebody's told them, you better go to a psychologist, or, this relationship is over, there's consequences. So sometimes people come because other people are saying that they've got a problem and they are complying, or or they respect the person and they want to come in. Um, so I see people for all different sorts of reasons.
Yeah, but in your opinion, I mean, should everybody have one? Because
Well, God, I think
it
so.
just like a preventative, I get people are told you should go there, or there's going to be consequences, and I get people are coming in pain. But is this maybe get a psychologist, go just once a month, like you would go for a massage or acupuncture session? We do all of these things for our body. Should we be doing this for our mind as well?
Absolutely. I mean, it's such a wonderful luxury to be able to talk to somebody for an hour and they're not telling their stories. They're just letting you say what you want to say. It's completely different than just having coffee with a friend, whereas coffee with a friend is very valuable. The focus is on you and understanding you. And I think everybody should have a therapist or a coach or somebody that is actually taking that time to just focus on you and help reflect back what they're seeing without having any stake in the game. Of when I'm giving feedback to clients, it doesn't impact my life if they leave their husband, if they stay with their husband, if they, whatever the thing is. So I can really tell them how I'm seeing it from a lens, and it's up to them whether they want to accept that or not.
That's amazing. And then I'm sure you also get to help them unpack maybe some of their decisions. Is that coming from childhood? And that's where you would bring in some of that SE work and some other things to resolve traumas, really anything,
Yeah.
right? With your scope of practice.
Yeah. There's a saying, where it's hysterical, it's historical. So whenever somebody has like a little extra, bang boom of emotion that comes along with what they're saying, it's like, so maybe if somebody stood you up for a date, like nobody likes to get stood up for a date, But when people are ruminating on it and, just distraught over it and destroyed over it, it would be like, this is interesting. Because whereas I could understand nobody likes to get ghosted, for some people, there's an extra pain that comes with that because they were abandoned, or there's something in the history that ties to that that's not been worked through yet.
That's interesting. And so if they came to you, you can go back and go frame by frame and kind of work through the trauma.
Yeah, typically, a question I might ask somebody is, how old do you feel right now when this comes up? People know right away. And we're working with very little parts that show up that don't understand that, of course, we're always in our adult mind, we have our adult capacity, but when we get triggered, we go right back to whatever age that was when the wounding happened.
I'm so excited about all of these episodes coming up and to share them with you. I'm so excited about this. I think the mind body connection is so important, especially learning how this trauma can manifest in the physical body. I think it's just super interesting. And you've been working with people in this manifestations for years. What do you think some things that people can do to promote good mental health? What do you think we should be doing besides getting someone to speak to, whether it's a psychologist or coach? What are some other good things that we can do?
Sleep. Sleep sets you up for your best chance to have a good day. Sleep, yeah. Sleep sometimes is elusive for me, but I'm always chasing it. I'm always like, that's my top suggestion. Also being mindful of what you're ingesting. And I mean, not just food, because if you're eating a crappy diet and processed food, you're not going to feel good. You're not going to feel your best. But I mean, being mindful of what we're ingesting with our eyes, our ears all day. When I look around, just my world, I've really set it up to minimize overwhelm. When I get in an Uber or something, they've got like that scent on and the radio's on, it's hot. It's just like, I can't even live. So just being mindful, are you on social media all day comparing yourself? Are you just reading the news or getting hyped up about the injustices? It's important to stay tuned into that. But thinking about like, what are you exposing your system to all day? Loud noises, just the types of people you're surrounding yourselves with. Are they toxic? Are they good for you? Are they in your corner or are they frenemies? So just being mindful of what you allow your system to go through all day and finding little spaces where you can slow down is really important and just let your body catch up to what's going on. For me, sometimes I know I need to take a little slow down when I feel breathless. Like I take a big sigh and I'm like, okay, let me just take a couple minutes, do some intentional breath work, and help myself regulate because I'm not being mindful of what's going on. Also, hydration is really important. Another thing that I am a work in progress with, always trying to stay hydrated. By the time you've got that headache, it's too late. I think the self-compassion, we're not really taught how to put ourselves first. So finding that kindness for ourselves, like even if there's nobody else in the world that's kind to you, you can be kind to yourself. And I feel like that hasn't really been taught to us growing up. And that's a skill that we would all do very well to learn. And I'm a work in progress with that too. I'm a work in progress with everything, actually.
I mean, who's not a work in progress? I mean, our minds are fascinating. I mean, we're all works in progress. And we just do the best we can every day and hopefully get good sleep and wake up the next day and get to do more amazing things and be here. But, it's interesting you bring up, what we ingest, right? From TV, social media, and food, of course. But, this is very similar to what you said. There was that point before meditation where you always had to have the noise. You couldn't have that mindful space. And so it's interesting now that we, just becoming mindful that do you always have to have that TV on? Like, is there something that we're avoiding here? So I think that's really important to be mindful of it, but also why? Why do we have to have that constant noise or that constant attention, or why are we mindlessly scrolling through social media?
Yeah. Absolutely. And it can feel really threatening to stop the noise if that's what we're used to. So I wouldn't suggest you go to a full stop and move to a mountaintop and don't interact with anyone. But maybe could you invite a minute or two of intentional breath into the day and see how that feels? I think people are amazed when I'll practice breath work with a client and we do 2 minutes and they're like, wow, I feel different. I'm like, yeah, that was 2 minutes. Can you find 2 minutes in your day to do this type of breath? And
to breathe,
yeah,
which is cheap. It's free.
it's free.
You've been doing it your whole life. And like I've heard, we've probably been doing it wrong.
And we always have it with us, which is the cool thing. We could be sitting in a doctor's waiting room doing breath work. We can be sitting in our car doing breath work.
Grocery store, errands.
Totally.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty incredible. The more you learn about breathing and then how you've been doing it wrong.
Right.
And which is what I've learned lately.
It's the fastest way to shift our physiology. I mean, it's like we've got the tool right there. We just need a little bit of instruction, not much. There's not much, but to learn how to do it correctly and, correctly, not correctly, but find a way that you can notice a shift in your body. Whatever way that is the right way.
Yeah, I think that's pretty powerful. And same with meditation. Some mornings I can only make it about 5 minutes. It still helps me.
Yeah. Yeah.
For all those people who are into it for a lot longer, 5 minutes may seem like nothing, but the fact that you can really transform your physiology, your body, your mindset in these 2 to 5 minutes, that's pretty transformational, right? I mean, there's really not another word.
Yeah.
And it's free.
Yeah. Meditation is a game changer. Absolutely. What they now have research about this, but before they had research showing this, of course, when I learned how to meditate, I taught all my clients how to meditate. And what I was noticing,
and your aviation students too, did you teach?
I didn't, but I should have. Yeah, I should have. What I was noticing is that my clients who were meditating and my clients who were medicated, so with antidepressant medication, they were showing the same results. And the result was there was that pause between stimulus and response, that they didn't feel like they were just, on autopilot anymore. And I was like, this is pretty cool. And I could really tell if people were practicing the meditation because reliably they were all having that experience. And now, of course, we've got research that shows that that's what meditation does.
Absolutely. And I'm going to ask you probably a loaded question, but why do you think everybody's not sold? I just feel like some people still, even like your reaction, oh, no, I'm not going to do that meditation. That's for other people. That's not me. Why? And even going, to the East Coast and goes, oh, no, that's a West Coast thing. Why do you think so many people are so quick to put down or, that's not for me, or, oh, that doesn't work, or that's for somebody else? Like, why are we so quick to put that down, but we're so quick to run to, I'm going to go to a doctor or take a pill? Why is that? This is proven. Mind body connection is proven. So why does this exist?
Yeah, I don't really have the answer for that. I just think I know, in my opinion, we're looking for the quick fix. We've become such a culture of fast everything. That it requires some work. It requires some work. And then I think there's fear that it won't work. When I hear somebody that says, I can't meditate or that doesn't work, I typically find out that they haven't had the proper instruction, because meditation is not sitting there and letting your mind go blank. That's impossible. Even very experienced meditators aren't just letting their minds go blank. That's not how we're wired. So if you have that expectation, you're going to feel like you're failing every single time. And why would you want to do something that you're failing at? When you have the proper instruction, then you start to learn, yeah, you're going to have thoughts the whole time. And we're just attending to something else, not those thoughts. We're noticing, I'm having thoughts. Let me come back to the breath, or let me come back to my mantra, or whatever the thing is. And I'm a big fan of being comfortable during meditation. There's tons of different ways to meditate. Sometimes you need to sit with your back straight and sit on the cushion, sit cross-legged. I'm a fan of however you can meditate, do it. That might mean laying down. My teachers would be like, oh, don't lay down. That's not what you do. But if that's the only way you can meditate and get your body comfortable, then lay down.
Yeah, I'm just curious about that, because I think it's powerful, and I think everybody can do it, and I wish everybody would learn how to do it. And I'm just curious why we have these tools at our fingertips that are free. Why are we not using them more often? And why do we look down on these free tools sometimes?
Yeah. Yeah, I think finding the right person to kind of guide you into that's non-shaming and, non-militant about how they're instructing you is a great way to kind of dip your toe in and see how you feel. Even after I've taught hundreds of people how to meditate, maybe even more, but after doing a little mantra meditation for like a minute or 2 minutes, I've had maybe 2 or 3 people tell me they didn't like it, they didn't feel anything, and this is out of hundreds. So for whatever reason, it didn't feel safe for that person to go inside. And, sometimes when we've had a lot of trauma and dissociation is the name of our game, and which is, dissociation is built in as a merciful tool into our nervous system. But when there's a lot of that going on, if we just completely check out, then no, meditation's not going to feel safe. And it might not be the right thing at that time in your healing.
Michelle, how can people find you and connect with you if they want to get in touch with you?
It's Dr. Michelle Kole, Dr. Michelle with 2 L's, Kole, Kole.com is my website, and also the same Instagram.
Okay, awesome. You can also find her on Sofia Health and teaching some of the classes on Sophia Prime for all of our listeners who are on there. Hopefully we can find some of her classes. Michelle, thank you so much for this information. And I'm super excited to have you on all these episodes. I can't wait to hear more about your work and all the things that you're doing with this mind-body connection and powering us to build resilience and work through all of our trauma, because I think we all have it from something. So I'm looking forward to this season. I hope people can connect with you and hear more of your powerful insights. And as you know, and I think we've already heard, but a question that we're going to ask all of our guests on the show, can you share with us 3 fundamental pillars that contribute to your well-being?
Yes. Sleep, meditation, shocker. And I think an anti-inflammatory diet, including lots of water. And those are my 3.
Those are excellent. Thank you. Okay, Michelle, thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to you co-hosting with us.
Thanks, Riley. Let's do this.
Thanks so much for listening. This has been Sofia Unfiltered, a podcast by Sofia Health, the #1 marketplace for health and wellness. Find services, classes, and products from the top health and wellness providers. Book an appointment or join live classes now. I'm your host, Riley Reese. If this episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear about it in the comments section of your favorite podcast provider or with a 5-star rating. Let us know what your biggest takeaway from this episode was, or share it with someone you hope to inspire. Join us again next time for more real conversations, stories, and insights that help empower you with the knowledge and inspiration needed to transform how we care for ourselves.